Today's show is supported by El Carafe Shrine in Clio, Michigan, and they're sponsoring a Sportsman's Raffle, which is held on April 23rd, 2022. Address is 4240 West Wilson Road, Clio, Michigan, 48420. It starts at noon. Ticket costs are $20 in advance, $25 at the door. One ticket gets you a shot at 100 different weapons. If you're interested in getting a ticket, please call 810-686-2641, or you can buy online at eksportsman.com. That is eksportsman.com. One ticket gets you a shot at over 100 weapons, and if you buy a booklet for $60, you get an extra ticket for a special drawing of 12 weapons or cash prizes. Please check them out online, eksportsman.com, or you can call 810-686-2641. Now back to the show. All right, good morning. Welcome to the Warrior's Way. My warrior this week is Pamela Haldy, and she's from the Richfield Academy in Flint. Say hi.
Good morning.
Good morning, and we're going to get to her in a second. If this is your first time watching the show, we interview nonprofits and people in the area that help the community, and the reason for that is because a lot of times people are unaware of the things going on in the community that are for free, that can help you, especially when you're struggling, for nonprofits and community groups like yourself. So if you're looking for a list and you're in the Genesee County area, we'll be expanding Shiawassee County shortly. Go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. If you want to see some of our other videos, check out whatever nonprofits that we work with. Go to YouTube, check out our podcast, Warrior's Way, under Spiritual Warfare Unit. Like, share, and subscribe, and we will get into it. How are you doing this morning?
I'm well, thank you.
All right. So, what is the official name for? Is it Richfield School and Academy?
It's Richfield Public School Academy, and then our early elementary center is called Richfield Early Learning.
Okay. And there's so if people just real quick, if you got kids out there and they want to check it out while we're talking, what's the website?
RichfieldPSA.net.
RichfieldPSA.net. All right, and we'll get to the number a little bit later in the show. So, first of all, where are you from?
I am from Flint, Michigan.
Flint, Michigan. Yay.
Yes.
Flintstone.
That's
all right. And you grew up on the bad side of the tracks.
I grew up on the south side of Flint on a little dead-end street that ended at the creek.
Perfect. So you were one of the poor kids.
I was indeed.
Yay. All right. And so tell people what your title is now.
My title is Superintendent and Chief Financial Officer of Richfield Public School Academy.
Phew, that is a big title. That sounds like a $10 handle right there. And the beautiful part is she grew up on the same side of the tracks as the rest of us did. So, okay, so you went to what schools when you were young?
I went to Lincoln Elementary, which is now International Academy. I went to McKinley Junior High, and I went to Flint Southwestern.
Okay.
Bolts.
Yeah, right. And so what year did you graduate then?
I graduated in 1976.
Okay.
When I was 16 years old.
16, smarty. All right. All right, so from 1976, and you were 16, and did you go directly into college then?
I did not.
Okay.
I got a job working with Flint School District. When I was in high school, I worked summers there, and then they got a huge grant called a facilitators grant.
Okay.
And so I worked with after-school programs for kids for a couple of years.
So what did you do for the school while you were working when you were in school?
I would work after school. So through the Parks and Rec, they had programs that went on.
Okay.
And so I would work some of those programs. I did reading tutoring. I did a craft class.
Okay.
I did a camp class where we went outside and, search for science things.
Really? Like bugs and leaves
whatever.
and all that?
Yep, whatever was out there.
So what you're saying is from the start you were a studious person.
I am, yes.
And so academics was something that you enjoyed.
I did.
All right. So we were talking a little bit earlier and give us some of the difficulties of being in the 70s and trying to get some of that Studi, what kind of difficulties you had to deal with the boys, right? There had to be a struggle there.
There definitely were. Back then it was the girls did certain things and the boys did certain things, and I kind of like to do things on both sides of that.
All right, so your class that you put your foot down was?
Drafting.
Drafting. All right, tell that story. This is cool.
So I wanted to go into the drafting class, and it was all boys, and so the drafting teacher told me I could not use that as one of my specials, that only boys could go into
because you were a girl.
Because I was a girl.
It's ridiculous.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I said, well, girls can draw too, and I really want to do this class. I think we should go down and talk to the principal. I have my case all laid out, why I think.
And how old were you when you're saying this?
I was 14 then.
I'm sure that teacher just. So you were fighting to get into his class.
Correct.
Oh, I bet he was thrilled.
Yes. So he said, okay, if you can convince him, I'll let you in. So I did. And I wasn't the best drafter, but I was probably the most enthusiastic drafter. And so he would always use me as an example with the boys. Look, this is how you get enthused about something. Pamela, look what she's doing. She's enthused. That's going to bring out your vision of your drawing. He never said, look at Pamela's drawing. It's really great.
Yeah, your passion, though, he could get behind that.
Right.
All right. So how's your drawing nowadays? Just curious.
About the same.
About the same. I do massive stick figures, huge stick figures. Very good. All right. So you did that, and do you remember what you got in the class? Out of curiosity,
I got an A.
Did you really?
My things were correct. They just weren't
pretty
or beautiful, I guess. Yes. I wasn't going to be an architect. We already decided that.
Yeah, but you still could do it.
Right.
Right. So your mindset at an early age is I get this done. So in academics, clear. So. Did you jump ahead a grade early?
I did.
Okay.
And so this teacher really took a huge interest in me, and talked with the rest of my teachers about my enthusiasm, my intellect, I guess, my shyness, because believe it or not, I'm pretty shy.
Well, I would imagine, like, having the kids being older, you would be shy because you kind of didn't fit in because you were the smarty, blah, blah, blah. You probably had to deal with that, right?
I did somewhat.
I will have to say I've never had to deal with that, but that had to be like, you must have cocooned a bit.
It was more, it was usually the kids who were wealthier that were considered the gifted kids. So then I wasn't in the wealthy group either. So
you're just the ugly duckling.
Well, yep, I was.
Yeah, the beauty was coming out, and it was there.
But so, him having that belief in me and that passion in me helped me to stay my focus. I knew that there was somebody there that cared whether or not I finished school, whether or not I graduated, because where I lived, like I said earlier when we were talking, probably only 20% of the kids were going to do something with their lives.
Right. So, did you have support with this at home, or they just
I did. Neither of my parents went to college, but they were both supportive in what I wanted to do.
Okay. So how long did you do this job with the school?
So then,
you graduated in 76.
Let me see. So I did that job until I was 19.
Okay.
And then the grant funds ran out.
Right.
And at that time, I was also going to Mott.
Okay. So you're getting your basics.
Right.
Okay.
Well, at that point, I thought that I was going to be a lawyer. I mean, that was kind of that was kind of my plan.
You were an excellent arguer.
I liked that. That was my plan that I wanted to do.
Okay.
I spent some time overseas traveling for a little bit.
Okay. Now, how old were you when you did that?
I was 20.
Okay. So this was right after the grant come out. So this would be 78, 79. Okay.
So 20 to 21, I spent some time overseas trying to decide if I wanted to move someplace else. Kind of what I wanted to do, what was out there for me to do. You know, like if I became a lawyer, would I become, someone who did international law, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Came back home, met my husband, and got married and had kids, so kind of school.
All right, hold on, that's a bunch. Whoa, hold on. Went over, so 19, so we're talking 78, 79.
I went overseas for a year.
For 1 year?
1 year.
Okay, and you just traveled all over, or were you like in a program?
Mostly in Europe, Germany.
And what was your main thing that you pulled back from all that trip? Anything?
That there was a whole lot of support at home, that I didn't see kids there getting.
Okay.
And I thought that was really odd because in my limited knowledge, I thought that they were so much more advanced than we were with social programs and things like that.
Okay.
But I found that maybe it was they were just expected, and so you were expected to be on this route, and so there wasn't any, you didn't need any support because this is what you were
It was the
expected
expected
to do.
outcome of social responses,
Right.
getting that. Okay, yeah, because you're right. That was there. Okay, so then you're 19. So you travel abroad as a 19, and that must have been fun. And then you come home and you meet your husband, and you're 19, 20?
No, I was 21 by then.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So I actually went 20 to 21. I
Okay.
came home, I was 21 by then. I got married when I was almost 24.
Okay, see, you just slid right over that. So that was like a 4-year time period. All right, so you're looking at, and you see the social structure, that hits your brain. You're a person that's academically inclined, that hits your brain. All right, so at a young person, you hit that, then that reinforces that's something that's amiss here in the United States. And you come back, and now how did you meet your husband and all that?
Well, I worked
you
in
like-
a law office during the day.
Okay.
Because again, I still was going to be an attorney, and I didn't make a ton of money there. So I worked at a bar at night, and the bartender
Made a ton of money there, I bet
did,
you.
yes. And the bartender there was friends with my husband, and so introduced us. And
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, so-
All right, so you did have a little fun in there.
yes, oh yeah,
Because I was like, boy, that's a lot of work, and I couldn't do any of
worked
those
in the
things.
law office, loved it.
Yeah, I would have need some decompression time. So, okay, so here you are. So so let's see, this would be 1980.
81.
1981. Okay, so by 81, you're paralegal? Okay. And were you still at Mott?
Yes, on and off.
Okay. All right, so then you go to Mott and you meet your husband, you get married, and you're 24.
Almost 25.
All right, and kids or anything coming in?
Yep. So then 2 years later, we were building our log home.
A log home.
A log
cool.
home, yep.
All right.
Out in Holly, we were building it ourselves.
Wow.
Because we couldn't afford to do it another way.
Right.
So, and then I had my first child, my son, when I was 26.
Okay.
And then not quite 2 years later, I had his sister. And not quite 2 years later, I had his other sister.
All right. So by 30, 31,
I had
we
three
got
children.
the log house, the husband, the kids, the whole life. You got the whole life going. Okay. Now where's school at from 24 to say 31? What's going on there?
School, I'm done at Mott. I've got my associate's degree.
Okay.
I'm done. I've decided that I'm going to take the LSAT.
Okay.
My dad got really sick with cancer,
Okay.
so I put that off. My dad ended up dying, and so then I decided, well, you know what, I'm gonna head back into school. I don't think I'm gonna go to law school because I'm too involved with my kids' lives, and I
Right.
can't imagine now saying by the time I finish, okay, now that you're teenagers, you're gonna be on your own because your
Yeah.
mom's gonna be working 80 hours a week.
Yeah, and that's weird. It doesn't sound like good parenting, huh?
No, and I was a stay-at-home mom for several years, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, you can see in your eyes that you were loving it. Yeah.
And the fortunate thing is that I got to do law work when I wanted to. So if somebody's getting ready for a trial, sure, yeah, I'll
so
help
like
you.
part-time paralegal work? No, so
yeah.
you still got to scratch the
I still
itch,
got
right?
to, yes, I still got to be involved with people who,
Cool.
spoke above a, 4-year-old level, and
Wait a minute, I don't think I have that around here. well, maybe 4-year-old. I don't know. We have our great and powerful Oz that we
Yes.
don't show behind the screens, and he's there helping us out. But it'll be in just in our next segment. But so you were 30, 31, and you were doing the paralegal work, and you had your family and 3 kids living in Holly, had the log cabin, and all of that is getting ready to stew into what became the passion of Richfield Academy. But before we get into that, we're going to take
Okay.
a quick break because we got a special guest coming on. And if you have not gone to Spiritual Warfare Unit on our podcast to check out our lovely warriors that we have, please go to Spiritual Warfare Unit on YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe so you can check that out. And we will be right back.
I'm really impressed with the teachings that Isaac has been bringing to us, as this is all based from Proverbs.
I like it because it's simple, and it doesn't matter who you are. It's very easy to understand and apply to your life.
You know, it points out, you know, my bad parts, and you know, but it's showing me how to do the good parts, and you know, I'm trying to apply that and, you know, make a better life for myself because I'm tired of where I've been.
It's impacted a lot of the guys as they continue to talk and ask questions after the meetings, as they speak to one another regarding the meeting and the messages and the topics that are being brought up, which are down-to-earth topics of situations and things that we live with on a day-to-day basis.
He takes the Bible and he breaks it down into simple terms and where you can understand. And like I said before, sometimes a lot of churches, even the Salvation Army, sometimes we start using these big words that people don't understand, like even saying someone got saved. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean when you say someone got saved? And it's accepting Jesus into your heart. So it's like words like that we use that people don't understand.
It's just very interesting how he points out, you know, the different things of, you know, the sin part, and then he comes back with the, you know, how to make it better, and he just points it out. It's there. You know, I didn't know all this stuff was in there, but now that he's pointing it out, it's like, wow, you know, I guess if you really dig into the Bible, you find these things.
This is a daily moral standards that we can live by, that the teachings are coming from. And honestly, we can take verse by verse as what he's done, and pretty much he's done the hard work for us and now laying it out so that we have an easier understanding.
There's some people who don't like to be in Bible classes, but this one seems to get their attention.
Taking a quick break from our podcast, I wanted to let you know about our life application program that we have for churches and nonprofits in the area that are trying to find programming that they can use in case the corona shuts you down and you're not able to get in. You go to spiritualwarfareunit.com, you click on our episodes, and you can check out our programs for as little as $29.99 a month to make sure that we're still getting the word out to those people that need it. Now, back to the program. All right, welcome back to the Warriors Way. I'm here with Pamela, and we have our special guest arrived, Bob. Say good morning, Bob.
Morning, everybody.
And Bob is part of the Richfield Academy team and more of the funny, intelligent person, and I'm sure Pamela has to probably slap him around to keep him in line. That would be my guess.
It's a full-time job.
It is a full-time job. You want to pull that just a little bit closer?
All right.
Yeah, you can pull that closer. It moves a little bit.
All right.
It's got this arm. It moves like
Yeah.
that. It's cool, man. All right, so we were just getting into the kids and paralegal work, and you were 30, 31. All right, so what transpired from there to get into the school? Like, how did that happen?
Well, you know, I had to finish school. You know, I had an associate's degree, but that wasn't what the goal was.
Right, but you said the kids and not the time. So how'd you
Right.
work that one out?
So my littlest one started school.
Uh-huh.
So once they were all in school, I went back to work part-time and went and started in school part-time. And at that time, it was then a good time to become a teacher. Prior to that, when I was planning it, after I decided I wasn't going to be a lawyer, there were no jobs. I mean, you know, teachers were being laid off.
Right.
Districts were scrambling to...
Yeah, because this is what, mid-'80s, right?
Early 80s.
Yeah, that was tough.
So that was what I wanted to do. After working with all those kids, you know, from 14 until 19,
Right.
it's like, you know what, I think I have a knack for this. I like this. This is what I want to do. So I went back to school full-time, well, part-time first, and then I stopped working except for special cases, special trials coming up,
Right.
and just worked full-time and raised my kids. Finished my degree in 3 years, and went out for my student teaching assignment.
Right.
And this is how life happens, you know. So
Yeah.
I went out, and it started snowing that morning when I was going out to do my interview for my student teaching
All right, and
assignment.
who were you interviewing?
I was interviewing at Fenton,
Okay.
and it snowed. And I think we got about 17 inches of snow that day.
17 inches.
And So it took me about 2.5 hours to drive from Fenton to Grand Blanc home.
So
and I
you
had
still went?
Yes, I had my son's football program
Wow.
event going on that night.
Okay.
So anyway, this job was for an ELA teaching position
Okay.
for student teaching, and I was a science teacher. So I
Yeah.
called my university advisor and I said, I really don't want to take that job. I want to do my student teaching and science. You know, I'm not some young kid.
Yeah.
You know, I want to do what I want to do. And they said, well, too bad
Wow.
because of this weather, we're so far behind getting people assigned that we're just making people go wherever they went. And it turned out to be the greatest thing ever
Because
I learned so much from my supervising teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot, but I didn't know anything about teaching, you know, like
Yeah.
in a regular classroom.
Right.
So I learned a lot about that. I had a wonderful team who were super excited about the things that I could bring to the team in terms of science, because none of them had a science background.
Okay.
So we worked really well together. I had great parents, great kids. I was there for 8 years.
Okay.
And in the meantime, I went back to college
Yeah.
and completed my double master's.
Double. Ooh, and what?
So I have a master's in public administration.
Okay.
And I have a master's in school and business finance.
All right. So this would put you in the early 40-ish range. Okay. So came from Flint, worked at Flint schools, year on the road in Europe, hanging out, doing whatever,
Exploring.
finding ourselves. So then come home, get married, 3 kids, hit the 30s, decide school, which kind of makes sense with the kids and the background of the schools. Like that all makes sense. And then, so you're in your early 40s at this point, and you feel like
I
you're
just turned 40, I think.
so you're feeling like you're accomplished, or like what put you to where you're at? Did this situation like what got you there?
So,
you know?
like I said, I loved the team I had. I loved the kids I had.
Yeah.
You know, the parents were nice, but I just wasn't fulfilled. And
Yeah.
I talked to my new husband and I said,
Uh-huh.
you know, I'm just not fulfilled. He said, well, you're not working with the group that you like to work with.
Yeah.
He said, you are.
That matters,
you know,
man.
You love the underprivileged, and that's what's going on here.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to leave and go to a different charter school
Yeah.
that worked with Flint kids,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided that I was going to do that. That
Okay.
you know, I think that to be fulfilled, I needed to be working with students who grew up like I did.
Right.
You know, and in a lot of cases, much worse than I did.
Right.
But to give them some place. So I went to that charter school. It wasn't quite the vision that I had. So these were all managed by this company that I told you about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I
We'll
went.
call it the Invisible Company.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were, weren't they, Bob?
Yeah. I thought it worked for apropos.
Yes. So then I got an opportunity to join Richfield.
Right.
And
And you're how old at this time?
so now I am 47.
Okay, so that was a 6-year kind of jaunt between I want to get into something to finding the actual thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and was the main thing like the people that you were working with, or was it the kids, the type of kids that you wanted to be able to help, or was it both? You know what I mean?
It was those kids were going to make it, like I said, without me.
Right.
You know, they had so much support, and I loved my team. It wasn't anything to do with that. It was just my personal passion to
Okay.
get out there and be that person for kids who don't have anybody else. Like I told you, I had a teacher who, you know, really mentored me.
Yep, your drafting
believed in
teacher.
me, my drafting
Yep.
teacher, who I forgot to tell you I had a really bad crush on.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
can't hate the player. That happens in school.
And in fact, his
though.
wife
I mean,
knew it. He ended up dying from a rare muscle disease. And
Wow.
so she called me and said to come up to the hospital and see him, and told me all about him telling her, you know, that I had a crush on him.
Yeah, right. That had to make him feel pretty good, though.
Oh, I don't know.
All right. So you decided that your function was helping the younger kids that needed the support. That was the thing for the purpose.
Yes. And helping the parents understand the importance of their child's education.
So what year is this? You're 46, you said?
So I think it was
So that'd be 2006?
7 that I
2007?
came there, right? 2007?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
All right, now, were you already there,
Yep.
Bob? Okay, so Bob, tell everybody what your title is.
So I'm the current president of the board.
President of the board. So we got them highfalutin people in
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
Afternoon, Governor.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you.
Well, what Bob isn't telling you is that Bob has been there since the school started
Which was?
in 2003.
The board started meeting in 2002.
Right.
So we met for a year in that planning phase until the doors opened in the fall of
So your
2003.
board picked her.
Eventually.
All right. How
She
did
came in-
that work? Like, what was your first? How many people had you seen? Like, what was that process?
Well, Pamela was on staff.
Yeah.
And when we had a change in leadership, and so the board was looking at, so the board went self-managed, so the backup,
Yeah.
in 2012.
Yeah.
And so prior to that, much of the staff was picked by the prior management company.
All right,
so
so-
in 2012, now it's the board's responsibility to pick the superintendent. And,
Now, do you guys like to hire from within, or?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's the ideal situation, because now you have somebody that knows the school, you're familiar with, you're comfortable with.
Personality, workload, all that.
Right.
So she came on and you said, "Oh," and you threw your hat in the ring, or they asked you? How'd that work?
I think that it was a little bit of both. I'm like, I'm here.
You got nudged?
Self-managed. This is what I can do.
Okay.
These are the things we have to hire people to do, or
Okay.
this is what you have to look at if you're bringing somebody in. And
So you knew how many holes you could fill, and the money it would save, how it would help the school, and the direction you want to go.
Exactly.
And you guys were all in the same place. All right, that's perfect. All right, so you guys are sitting here, and my buddy Bob and we hang around the same social groups and structures, and we got to meet through COVID. And this is why I keep trying to tell people, sometimes bad stuff happens and difficult situations shows up, but the best things happen. And so we were doing COVID, and in the Flint area, we had a sheriff that wanted to work with the community, and so he put together a community task force, and at the time we had someone donate money for food, but we still had to distribute it, and so we're trying to come up with distribution centers. I had 12 hours to come up with. Well, we need 9 of them, and like 7 of them backed out before we started. Right, so it was a mess. And luckily, when you are talking, I'm like, dude, I just need to. And you're like. And you stepped up to the plate, and you were like, yeah, let's get it done. And it took 15 minutes. The kids were getting the food, helped them. And we did that for how long? I mean, it was a while, right?
A long time.
months.
And and then we were able to get kids some coats. That worked out thanks to the Flint Community Schools. And there's a food center out in Fenton that
Yep.
helped out with that.
Yeah.
And I forget the name of it right now, and I can give him an easy shout out. Now I'm forgetting. It's Ben. It's Ben and his wife, and I'm an idiot, so we'll move on. But we got to work out that way, and that's how we met these people. And so, Bob, when you told me that Richfield Academy is a public school, that blew my mind sideways, because it's an academy, which means private, but you said it was public. Right?
Yeah.
So explain this to people so this makes sense, because how do the poor kids, how do we get in there, you know?
Right, yeah. So in the jargon of school people, an academy in Michigan are public schools.
Okay.
They're just independent. Think of them as like an independent public school. But they have to play by the same rules, the same laws, everything, the same financial rules that any other public school district has. So Richfield, we're just a standalone school district. We
Okay.
are our own school district.
Okay.
And in the parlance or the jargon of the school people, it's called an academy.
Okay. So when we get back, we are going to take a look at how kids can get involved, why the other people who see your kids in different areas when they get together is such a great thing, and a couple of funny stories that are going to produce themselves for it as you guys do it. If you guys have not checked it out, please go to richfieldpsa.net to check out the school. If you've not seen our other nonprofits that we work with, please go to Spiritual Warfare Unit on YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you need some help, go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. We will be right back.
So people that are talking about breaking the rules use their fingers to speak to each other. And that's what gangs do to communicate from point A to point B. It's almost like this has been in the Bible for 2,000 years, and people feel like it's a new thing. That is unbelievable, isn't it? That things that are happening in your life today are in here from 2,000 years ago. That's very weird.
Find my
Oh,
way
I know,
back.
right? It was huge. It was huge. All right, welcome back to the Warrior's Way. Our warrior this week is Pamela Haldy and her sidekick, as it were, our old buddy Bob Wright, and he is the president of the board for Richfield Academy. And so we were just getting into how can people, like, how do they sign up for this charter school, public school that you have? Like, how do people that want their kids to get a better education get to where you guys are going? How does that happen?
So it's free. It costs nothing. The state pays us the same way they pay Flint schools or.
So you could be
Fenton.
broke.
You can be broke. You need absolutely no money to come to Richfield.
Okay.
Or any public school academy in the state. We all work the same way.
Okay, perfect. So if they go to richfieldpsa.net, they can sign up or request, or how does that work?
Yep, they can call. We'll send them an application. They can just stop by, walk in the front door, meet the people. You know, we'd love to meet you face to face, get an application. You know, stop by and take a tour. We'll show you this.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So it's not a money thing.
No money.
All right. So listen, if you're struggling, if you're a single mom and you're looking and you want your kids to have a shot, please go check these guys out. Now we have that done, as I was telling Pamela, I know there had to be some funny things that have happened along this journey of yours, you know, from graduating at 16 in 1976 to early 40s, late 40s into this process, and we call it our gem session. So this is your opportunity.
Well, actually, the funny thing that I want to tell you is that when I first started in my position at Richfield Academy as the superintendent position,
And before you were superintendent, you were what?
I was a middle school principal
Oh,
there.
very nerve-wracking.
And you did that for how many years?
I did that for 4, and then the 5th year, I kind of helped. I don't know, I was in charge of things, but not the superintendent.
Yeah,
And
so
then
that was
went-
at 41 to 46 your time. Okay, gotcha. All right. Now I'm
No,
interested.
41 to 46, I was still teaching in Fenton.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then I came over to Richfield.
And that's where you're doing the
Right.
principal. Okay. All right. got
So,
it.
you know, when you're a school community, you do whatever has to be done.
Right.
And one day we got surprised with a whole bunch of snow before dismissal. So I'm outside and I'm shoveling snow, you know, and with the custodians, we're all taking a spot, you know, we're shoveling.
Yeah.
And apparently a parent came in and said that they needed to talk to the person in charge. And so the secretaries said, okay, just have a seat. She'll be in a minute.
Yeah.
So I came in and went into my office, and then they brought the parent in. She said, well, what do I want to talk to the janitor for? And I said, I'm sorry, ma'am, can I help? I saw you out there shoveling. I know you're not the person in charge.
So they thought you just shuffled them in there. Oh,
and I said, no, I really am. I said, it's just that, you know, we got surprised by the snow. The buses are coming pretty soon. You know, I promise I am. Well, who else can I talk to if you're not in charge?
I can feel my sarcastic side going, well, because of my love for your
Yeah,
child.
you should have gone and gotten the janitor, right?
Yeah, and so this is Mr. So-and-so, and I'm going to go back to shoveling. Thank you for noticing me.
Right.
That's so funny. Isn't it funny how people perceive things? And if you're doing a mundane task, you cannot be important. Isn't
No.
that crazy?
It is crazy. It is crazy
You know,
because
I-
I could not run that place without my facilities manager, believe
Right?
me.
I mean, I've had an old boss of mine. He said, if you ever go into business, he said, if someone's taking out the trash is beneath them, you don't want them. And I've never forgot that, because anytime someone well, that's beneath me. I'm not going to do that. What they're going to do when they get some power and position and that power, that's beneath me. And how will they treat those people, right? Exactly. And so I've always watched when people won't take out the trash or clean the bathroom, sometimes. And sometimes those get difficult. So I have one funny school story. Then I was a kid, and I was little. I was really little. And I grew up on the same side of the tracks as you did. And so my dad had me go to a parochial school because I had been a fighter since the day I was born. I was told I was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck 3 times. And I was fighting to stay alive through the birth because it was actually hanging me. So I've been fighting since I was born. Anyways, that's my theory of why, I'm such a hardhead. And so anyways, I'm 5 years old, littlest kid in the class by a long shot. Come home, got a bloody nose and a black eye, and Dad says, "What happened?" Well, I said, "Well, this kid was picking on me." And he said, "All right." He said, "Tomorrow, when you go out there," he said, "whichever one is talking the most, you go punch him in the nose." And I was like, "All right, deal." So we get in there, sure enough, he's picking on me, punched him in the nose. He goes and cries. Principal gets called, probably would have been you, And principal said, "Why did you punch him in the nose?" I said, "Well, my dad said I could." And he said, "Your dad didn't say that." I'm like, "Well, he did." And he said, "Well, when your dad gets here, I'm going to ask him. You go ahead." Now, this was like 9:30 in the morning. So I had to sit all the way to like 3 o'clock, right? So that is doom as a 5 or 6 year old, and you just got the little guy in the corner, boom, 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 and all day, and everybody's looking at you, and you're the horrible kid, And so finally, my dad shows up. He goes in the office, and you hear the voices start to get elevated, right? And all I hear is, "You're darn right I told him to do it, and if he does it, I'm going to tell him to do it again." He's like, "Why don't you tell the kids to stop picking on him? My son's always going to stand up for himself." And he walked out, grabs my hand. He's like, "We're getting ice cream. I'm proud of you." And the look on the principal's face was priceless. I was like, to this day, I still remember him looking at me like, and in the principal's defense, later on, I caused him a wee bit of trouble. I had that kind of streak in me. So, I suppose that probably wasn't a good thing, but it was funny at the time as a 5-year-old. So, Bob, you got anything for us for our gem time?
I am really bad at remembering funny stories, so
Really?
No, I really don't.
Only other funny
I'm
story.
sorry to disappoint you.
It's all right. The only other funny story I can think of is, looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
You're like the Fonz. You just walk in, you're like, "Hey, how you doing?" We all know Bob is an excellent human being, and I enjoy him very, very much. So now, Bob, your background, I guess we should kind of tell people you're kind of like a smart guy, like a rocket scientist guy, yeah?
I worked in that field for a while.
He worked as a rocket scientist.
Kind of, sort of.
Listen, there is and there is not.
Yeah. I built rockets, but I didn't.
Well, that means you were a rocket
I didn't
scientist.
design them.
You see how he
just
slides?
made them.
So all we did is make stuff that went into space.
Yeah.
It not really did it this one time.
Yeah.
And so what kind of thing, that's great. So you're an actual rocket scientist. And I love how you play it off. You're like, "Yeah, whatever. It's no big deal. I went home, had a burger, made a rocket."
Yeah.
And that
What'd you do in your spare time?
I was like,
What'd you do in the summer, kids?
I was eating glue.
Yeah, right. What I did on my summer vacation.
Well, and I love that story because a lot of times when you meet someone and they're dealing with high intelligence, right, their ability to communicate with the average person becomes lessened because of their abilities, right? And you're just an average.
It's their focus. They become really focused in a very narrow area. And so
Right.
they lose their ability to kind of broaden out their focus. They use the wide angle lens and talk to plain folks in
Right.
areas out of their comfort zone.
Right.
So, they're very comfortable in a very narrow, deep groove.
Right. And for me, who a person being in a car accident, socially, a lot of times people are like, "Isaac, you're very, very quiet," right? But you get me on the podcast and I'm with people that I enjoy. I'm extremely loud and I enjoy but you get me out there, I'm not sure what the proper social response or the right tone or whatever. So you get kind of nervous with it. But I have found like working with you has been so much fun because it's just, can we do it? Yes, let's get it done. And that's the way it kind of should be, right? And you were like in the corner for these kids. And so, just being able, from my perspective, a little bit to help those kids that grew up in the exact same environment we did have a chance, to make their life into a better area. And I know you're very passionate about that. And just tell people why you did it. Like,
Right. So,
what your passion point
Pamela
is.
and I are both from the Flint school systems, and as you were, right? So Pamela went to Southwestern. I was at Flint Central. And, we grew up in the 60s and the 70s, in that era.
Very calm time of you.
Yeah. But, coming out of the Flint schools were just an amazing school district back
then,
in
yeah.
the 50s. And
Absolutely.
they led the nation. They were a shining light. And what education does, it's like the old expression about reading, right? You can read a book and travel the world and never leave your room.
Right.
Education is the means to accomplish amazing things. And I don't care where you are from. I don't care where you're from. I don't care who your parents are or were not. It doesn't matter what your parents did.
Yep.
If you get an education, you can accomplish amazing things.
Doesn't matter your skin color. It doesn't matter if you're male or a female, tall, short, fat, wide. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Your ability to be able to communicate and learn creates what you become.
So Pamela and I, coming out of the Flint schools, getting an education, getting a good education, provided us the opportunity to do amazing things.
Yeah.
You're a kid from Flint, right? Well, what does a kid from Flint know, right?
Right.
You didn't come from the wealthy town. You didn't come from the wealthy neighborhood. Or your parents weren't, the vice president or the president of General Motors. So what?
Right.
So no matter where you're from, you can accomplish anything with education. And that's the passion, I think, I know that's the passion that drives Pamela.
Yeah.
I think because people, kids from disadvantaged neighborhoods might think that the world ends at the end of this block.
Right.
Right? Their world is their block. It's their neighborhood.
Well, they don't have any idea of how to get out of there.
Because they've never seen it. And,
Right.
and nobody they know has gotten out of that. So
Right.
education is the way to show these kids the world. Look, there's a great big wide world out there,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And here's your opportunity to go out there and do amazing things.
Right.
Right. So you, a kid from Flint, can do that.
Right. And just like with me, I wasn't book smart, but you put me into a situation and had me figure out how to do things, plumbing, electrical, that kind of stuff. Pick that stuff pretty easy. And those trades are out there as well, right?
Oh, amazing.
Because intelligence means many different things.
That's right.
And
That's
so,
absolutely right.
like, growing up, and when you grow up poor, people like to tell you what your level is. They like to put you in your box, and you can only do.
You can't do that.
That's right.
How many times have you heard
Expectation
that?
For you,
Yeah.
because you live over here.
Yeah, and
Right.
like when I was dealing with my doctors, when they were like, well, you won't drive, you won't work, no one's lived past 20 years with this injury, you won't, and it's like, well, how do you know that? Just because no one else previously has done that it just means it's hard, right? Okay, I accept that. I grew up tough. Hard is a normal construct of understanding. I guess it kind of comes down to, and like in my case, it's my payout is in pain. How much pain am I willing to put up with to get what I want to get done? And then you construct things that you can do in spite of the difficulty that you come in, and you can still be successful on that. And that's one of the things with our community. One, they don't know you guys exist, which is nuts, right? Two, they don't know that nonprofits exist to help their families when they're going through a difficult situation. That's more normal than not normal. They don't understand that part either. And then when they have see that it is, then you have that pride that comes in and go, well, so let's just skip all those and go, here's some people that grew up, same situation, same background, education, got them to where they needed to get to create an opportunity for them to be able to not do this. And if there's a parent that's struggling, you guys are there to help, right? And you help with all kinds of stuff, not just school, right?
It's way more than just school.
Like, give me a couple of the things that you help out with beyond that.
Well, one thing when you were talking about the kids, thinking that there's pass stops at the end of their
Yeah.
street. So we bring our kids in, and as I told you earlier in our conversation, they're generally a year and a half, 2 years behind academically.
Right.
So right away, we team up and we say, okay, what do these kids need? But the other thing that we pride ourselves on, and we want our kids to know, is that we want to help you be comfortable in any social setting you're in. And so we're a Leader in Me school. The 7 habits of successful people, we
Well,
practice
explain
those,
that
we
to
preach
people
them.
because I don't think they know what that means. The 7
So
habits.
Stephen Covey has the
There
7
we go.
habits.
So it's a class that
it's-
they
it's-
teach them.
Right.
Okay.
It's a program that from his program designed for schools. And we practice it all the time. You see it posted everywhere in our building. Our kids know what it is. And part of that is to teach them how to be comfortable when they go into a situation where there are people who didn't grow up where they grew up. I always tell them, I want you to be comfortable having lunch at Burger King and having lunch with the King of France.
Right.
Wherever you are, I want you to feel like you belong.
Right, so you
because-
know the proper process.
Exactly. So you have the social skills, you have faith in yourself, you have belief in yourself, because these are all things that are going to get you where you want to be. On top of that, social etiquette, encouragement that we give the kids, we help the parents understand how important it is that these kids feel this way.
Yeah, because
So-
if I remember correctly, it's you also help the kids with the parents because the parents were struggling too, right?
Correct.
That was
Yep.
a back and forth there.
So we created, we bought a little building and we created our Parent Resource Center, and we hired a couple of people.
That's right.
And, it's like, okay, you're having problems with this, getting your bills paid this month. Let's get you hooked up with some agencies. You're having problems with attendance court because of barriers that you have. You can't get your child to school on time.
Yeah.
All right, let's figure out what those are. Let's help you with those. Oh, you have a baby at home and you need diapers and formula? Okay,
Yeah.
we have diapers and formula we can give you.
Yeah.
And it's not just for our school. Bob and our board was pretty adamant that, we are a community school.
Yep.
We're going to be community strong.
Yep.
So if you're in our community and we're having our food drive,
Yep.
and our wonderful partners that we have are
Yep.
providing turkeys and all kinds of other
Yep.
stuff, you're welcome to get in that line and get what you need.
Yeah, because I have a list of people. I actually have one coming on Thursday called Little Lambs, and she does formula and baby food. And I'll be hooking you guys up with her. Hey, that was a
Awesome.
little surprise I forgot to tell you
Yay.
about. But we're going to take our quick break. Again, go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. Like, share, and subscribe. If you're struggling, please come check out richfieldpsa.net, and we'll be right back.
I was an addict for 6 years. I was deeply into heroin and addiction. 2014, a lot of events happened for me. I had lost my sister. My dad was just diagnosed with cancer. I was just kind of in this headspace of being in a mess as it was, and then I was introduced to heroin. I kept it pretty well hidden there in the beginning. A lot of people didn't know that I was using just because I went about my everyday life the same way anybody else would. But what they didn't know behind the scenes is I was using 10 times a day. I'm living out of what I consider a trap house at this point. There's no windows, there's no doors, there's no place to stay warm. I had no other way of making money. I was doing things that weren't okay to me. I started prostituting. I was stealing from my loved ones. I was taking my dad's cancer prescriptions, and I would take them and I would sell them. I couldn't even contact my daughter in December of that year to tell her Merry Christmas or send her gifts. And it just got to a point where I knew, like, I'm either going to get clean or I might as well start planning my own funeral. So for me, it wasn't even just that I needed to stop. My life over the course of 6 years fell apart.
So I met Sarah in 2019. We had a program I was working with law enforcement officers, and I got the call that they had somebody, so there I went to meet Sarah.
Here's just this happy-go-lucky guy just, oh my God, here's treatment. Here's what you can do. You can change your life around. I'm just kind of sitting there like, oh, okay, what did I get myself into? Like, maybe sitting in a cell by myself might have been a better idea, because at least I don't have to listen to all this.
Whenever I see somebody who's willing to go to treatment to try and help with their issue. It's something that I don't make that judgment. I always just try and provide the hope, the encouragement, and the motivation to go to treatment, and then hope that it works for them, hope they engage, hope that it's the point of life that they're in, that they're ready to make that change.
It was a huge wake-up call for me. When I'm watching all these people that I used to hang out with, including my husband, get clean before I did. And just watching their lives change so drastically and them becoming so much happier. And I just sat there in this endless abyss of a mess that I caused myself, but I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't know how to stay clean. I didn't know how to live my life without substances because I had done it for so long.
With UCAN and our relationships we can actually get people into multiple treatment facilities. So depending on age, gender, the drug of choice, things of that nature, there's certain facilities that maybe have a little bit more of a success rate with certain populations. So we kind of talk through that and then try and place them where we feel.
All right, welcome back to the Warriors Way. Our Warriors this week are Pamela Hadley and Bob Wright from Richfield Academy.
Haldy, Pamela Haldy.
What did I say?
Hadley.
Haldy.
Not to be,
That's the L that I didn't have down on the
Right,
name.
right.
Say it one more time.
Haldy.
So like the halls.
That's the way I say
more-
it. Is that the way you say it? Haldy?
So like if you get caught,
You got caught in the hall.
Haldy.
You're going to go see Mrs.
Haldy.
I was just reading my mind. That's what I said. So when we were talking during the break about the other community stuff that you guys do other than this stuff. So with single moms thinking about having their kid come to your school, what were the other stuff we were talking about off air that you want to let them know what they do as far as the community stuff?
So if I can just jump in real quick, it's single moms and have a struggle that two-parent families just don't understand.
Right.
So just getting the kids up and ready and in the car and on to school before you got to go to your job and you're maybe working 2 jobs to pay the bills. Single moms have just a special struggle. And education, we believe, education is so important. How do we, Richfield, help our community? And our community isn't just the folks that come to Richfield, the kids and their parents that come to Richfield. The community, the Richfield community, is the community writ large.
The rest of the people.
It's everybody else that our parents and our students bump into, the folks that they talk to and work with every day. It's the Richfield families and the people that they bump into in the community. And so it's that struggle that single parents and parents that are, in today's world, years ago, it might have been the situation where dad could work and mom could stay home and you could pay your bills.
Right.
And in today's world, that's not necessarily true. It takes both parents, sometimes working 2 jobs, and you've got a lot of balls in the air.
Yep.
You're trying to get to work, you're trying to pay your bills, you're trying to get the kids to school. Oh, by the way, did we do our homework tonight? Where is your homework? What is your homework? And you've got a lot of balls that you're juggling.
Yeah.
So how can we, Richfield, help our parents help their kids? And how can we help the community help parents that then help the kids? So it all comes back down to the kids.
So how
do we do that?
So what community events or things did you come up with to help the community?
So that's what Mrs. Haldy wants to talk about, is the things that we do as a school. And the board is always, how do we, because, so every board meeting, it's how do we help the kids? What can we do to help the kids, help the parents, help the kids? So
help us, help you, help the kids.
That's right.
Go ahead.
So the thing that I'm the proudest of, I think, is the return that we get on our partnerships. A lot of people walk the talk, or don't walk the talk. They
talk
we do
it.
this, we
Yeah,
do
yeah.
this, we do that. We walk the talk. So when we get a partner, let's say like McDonald's, they come in, they see what we do, and how many people we're helping. We keep actual spreadsheets of what we do.
Right.
So then they're willing to come back and help again and again and again. And the benefit of this is that all we have to do is make a phone call. We have somebody who's coming out of shelter. We have somebody who finally has a home.
Yeah.
My entire Lake neighborhood knows, hey, if you're getting rid of anything, bring it to me
Right.
because we need blankets, sheets, towels, whatever you have.
Yeah.
Because we're moving these parents into sometimes their first home away from an abusive situation where they can focus on their kids now, which then means that kids are going to learn.
Yeah.
So all of these things that we offer the parents helps them to not have to worry about that because it's a day-to-day survival thing. And if I can take these things off your plate for you,
Right.
can you get your children to school
Right.
so that they can learn?
So those things that you do for them is what?
Food, diapers, clothing. About every other year, we have this huge, we fill our gym with clothing that staff members, everybody donates. Come on in,
Yeah.
pick out what you need, get it, take it. We connect them with agencies. We have a U of M clinic in our school. So if you can't get your child to the doctor, bring them into the clinic, fill out the paperwork. It
No
doesn't
kidding.
cost you anything. We can get your prescriptions from Kroger. We can make sure they're here. Your child can be back to school tomorrow.
You can get your physical. You need your immunizations. Your child has an ear infection, and you don't have a car. You have no way to get your child to the doctor.
Our school nurse comes pick them up. Our school nurse will go to appointments with the parent if the parent, especially specialty appointments, the parent's really worried about it.
Right.
Our school nurse will go with the parent
Okay.
to the appointments. So, we say that there's nothing that we won't do, and we really mean that.
We bought a house, a little house on Richfield Road, and we use it as our community resource center. And so
Yep.
we have a commercial freezer in the house. We have a commercial refrigerator. We use that to store perishable food that we give away. We also give away thousands and thousands of diapers. How many diapers do we give away in a month?
Oh
Just
my
give them away.
gosh.
Yeah.
And there's no limit.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not. If you come to our door and you say you need diapers, we're not going to say, okay, well, you can have one bag, right?
Yeah.
It's how many do you need?
In fact, when I leave here today, I'm on my way to pick up my next order at the food bank, and
Yep.
I think I have 9,000 diapers on order to
So
pick up.
if I'm summing this up, you guys' life geared towards academics is strictly helping kids that where you're from improve. And this is what I love about where we live is most people have no idea this even exists, right? And the funniest part about this is we're going to get off air, and my friend Dawn from Little Lambs, I'm hooking you up with.
Yay.
I got a buddy of mine that actually delivers beds to people. I'm going to hook you up. He's got a buttload, and I actually looked up the word buttload. That's an actual amount. Did you know that?
How many zeros are included in buttload?
Actually, it's exactly 126 gallons of wine. Google it. I Googled it, so I knew what I was saying is a buttload. It's 126 gallons of mattresses. And I have a friend of mine that we're going to get that hooked up. And if you're watching this and you have a friend that is struggling, you got a family that's struggling, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Go to spiritualwarfareunit.com, hit on struggling, go down there, see our people to help you out. We'll get a link from you guys. We'll put it on our website so people see this. They can click that link that you give us, go right to your website, fill out the paperwork, get an application, do a tour, see that these people are ready to help you out. It was so great to have you guys on. Thank you so much for coming out. If you haven't had a chance, please go on to our website, check spiritualwarfareunit.com. Help some people. Help yourself, help you. Spiritualwarfareunit.com on YouTube. Check us out. You guys have a great night. Do you have a nonprofit in your area that's doing a lot of work that people should know about? Feel free to contact Spiritual Warfare Unit at 810-715-9319, and we would love to have them on to see what good they're doing in the community and find out their story. Thank you so much.
Too much and let me stay this way. Jesus, there's freedom in your name. You break every chain, oh Lord. 'Cause you are above every name, Jesus. Oh, you set me free. Now I live my life, see it's on to play.